The 2022 fantasy season is in the books, so we decided to take a little look-see forward to the 2023 season. So this is going to be our early 2023 redraft rankings. Let's ride. Welcome back in. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. Our RB1s are as follows. For me, it is Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, Derrick Henry, Ramondre Stevenson, Joe Mixon, Bay Pollard, Aaron Jones, and Najee Harris. And then for Cody, it's Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, Ramondre, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, Derrick Henry, and Josh Jacobs. So, Cody, let's just get right into it. Who's the first guy you want to hit on?
Just want to lead off with Christian McCaffrey. You know, there was a lot of debate in the fantasy community about, I'm not going to take him. Is he the 101? Where is he? And he's showing exactly why people were risking the 101 on Christian McCaffrey. The only guy who's ahead of him in points per game right now is Austin Eckler. He stayed relatively healthy this year. Somehow, Christian McCaffrey put up over 1,000 rushing yards and over 700 receiving yards this season, despite playing the first 6 games with the Matt Rule Panthers. So he's going to be the easy 101 for me again. We obviously both have Ramondre Stevenson in our top 8. I'm a little bit higher on him. This just for me obviously weighs on what New England ends up doing at the running back position. Does Damian Harris actually end up leaving? He will be a free agent going into next year. We knew this dude could run, but then this year he really showed what he could do as a receiver. He is top 10 in receptions, receiving yards, target share, route participation, and this team is still starved for playmakers. Jacoby Myers could potentially be on the way out. So if Damian Harris is out, they don't really do anything to bring in another RB2. Stevenson could be in for an absolute workhorse role in 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's set up to be in a really good spot. I kind of struggled with him exactly where to put him. I'm kind of in this range of certain running backs like ETN, Kenneth Walker, Ramondre Stevenson are all. I was just kind of struggling exactly where I want to put them. I think Ramondre Stevenson's in a great spot, but I definitely agree. Well, it's going to be interesting what the Patriots do this offseason. They definitely need to bring in an offensive coordinator as well because Matt Patricia ain't it, baby. So yeah, so I do agree with you on that one. I just want to hit on a few guys as well, and that's Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he had a abysmal season this year, but he was 18th in fantasy points per game. He had 861 rushing yards, 143 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns. He did that in 11 games. He was not efficient either. 41st in yards created per touch, 26th in breakaway run rate as well. And so that obviously did not bode well for him either. The offensive line didn't help him. The Colts offensive line ranked 26th on adjusted line yards, 27th in power, and 24th in open field rank. And we also have a lot of question marks surrounding this the quarterback position. That has been one problem this Colts team has had for years since Andrew Luck retired is finding that quarterback. They keep going after these old retread quarterbacks. This year, I think it could be a lot different situation because right now they currently own the 5th overall pick. But with another loss this weekend and some help, they could possibly go all the way up to the 3rd. So I think it's likely they're going to be looking at a quarterback here with that pick. And so maybe they can get their franchise quarterback, which would also help our guy Michael Pittman. So Jonathan Taylor, I'm still pretty confident. He's still young. I think this team improves this offseason. So I think better things are ahead for Jonathan Taylor. We're probably going to get a good discount on him as well. He's not going to be the first overall running back off the board, and he could be somebody that's lower because people are just a little bit more down on him. So the other 2 I want to hit on was Saquon Barkley and Tony Pollard. Both of these guys are impending free agents this year. Barkley, welcome back to the party. He finishes the RB5 on the season with over 1,300 rushing yards, which was a career high, and his 338 receiving yards was second most that he's had in his career as well, with 10 touchdowns, 17.8 fantasy points per game. He was 3rd in weighted opportunities, 14th in red zone touches with a 17.2% target share in this offense. Now, it's possible that the Giants could look to franchise tag him, but they also have Daniel Jones they're going to make a decision about because honestly, Daniel Jones was somebody that they didn't pick up the 5th-year option on, but Daniel Jones has actually looked pretty good. And considering he's playing with a bunch of nobodies at wide receiver, like I think that, that has to be a priority for them as well. So I don't know what's going to happen with Saquon Barkley. Does he come back to the Giants? I think it's possible, but I think it's also possible that he goes to another team. And if he lands in the right spot, it could be absolutely wheels up because we've never seen him in an explosive offense. And then Tony Pollard is also a free agent. I don't know what the Cowboys are going to do with him either. He finishes the RB7, 16.5 fantasy points per game. And the dude was just a baller this year. The most efficient running back in the league. The only other running back in the top 12 that had less than 190 carries that finished in the top 12 was him and Austin Eckler, and that's the list. He was third in yards per route run. He was fourth in breakaway run rate, eighth in yards created per touch. Like the dude was fantastic this year. It was something I talked about all offseason, and he didn't disappoint. 988 rushing yards through week 17, 371 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns. But for like I said, free agency's coming. I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to cut Zeke, which would save them about $5 million against the cap in 2023, or they could cut him in 2024, and that would save $8 million against the cap. He's entering his age 28 season. I could see them with Jerry Jones wanting to bring Tony Pollard back, but he is somebody that if he lands in the right spot, if he leaves the Cowboys, or even if he comes back, I think he is a very solid RB1 next year, and I have no problem with that whatsoever. And then lastly, I just want to hit on Najee Harris really quickly. Kind of a tale of two seasons for him. The first half of the season, weeks 1 through 8, he was RB22. Weeks 10 through 17, he was RB8. He got a lot better over the second half of the season. The Steelers' offense actually started to look functional with Kenny Pickett. So we'll see on that. But I actually think it was a good thing for Najee Harris. He is an older player. I mean, he's going to be entering his age 25 season, which is right behind Saquon Barkley because he is an older player. So that should be noted. But Najee Harris, I think, is a fine asset for heading into next year. And you're probably going to be able to get a pretty good discount on him. So quickly, let's go over to our RB2s. For me, you have Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, Bijan Robinson. He's going to be Bay this year for everybody. Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Brees Hall, Javonte Williams, James Conner, Cam Akers, Miles Sanders, and Leonard Fournette. And then for Cody, you have Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard, Bijan, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, Javonte Williams, Brees Hall, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones at 21, Damian Pierce, James Conner, and Zeke. Cody, let's talk about some RB2s.
I don't know about you, but I like really struggled after like the top like 10 running backs. I feel like there's just so much. There's always so much turnover at the running back position as well. Tony Pollard, I could easily have a little bit higher. Bijan Robinson, someone, we didn't talk about our rankings beforehand outside of like the 10 minutes leading up to the show, but Bijan Robinson is someone that we both said that we could have higher. I mean, depending on his landing spot, like there's obviously been a lot of, if you're looking at any mock drafts this early on, Bijan Robinson to the Eagles has been a very popular pick, and if that happens, forget about it. He's going to be a round 1, early round 2 pick, so he's someone that could be higher. Cam Akers, man, did not look good at the beginning of the year, but now has back-to-back 100-yard rushing games, which when you think about the fact that it is basically a makeshift offense run by Baker Mayfield, no Cooper Kupp, no Matt Stafford, no Allen Robinson. I mean, you're looking at Ben Skoranek and Van Jefferson leading the way there. Cam Akers is someone who is really interesting. He's obviously then going to be another year further removed from his Achilles injury. So I think he could be someone that has some value going into next year. And I really wasn't sure where to put Javonte Williams and Brees Hall. Like I really wanted them to be higher. But the thing that, kind of a lesson to take away from the past couple years is these running backs really aren't the same for a full year, for a full season after the injury, right? So they'll be back next year. They should be ready to go at least toward the beginning of the season. But even if they come back, we saw it with a guy like Saquon Barkley, right? Last year was not the same guy. This year, completely different player. So wanted to have them higher, couldn't do it. DeAndre Swift, like it hurts me, but like you just can't rank him any higher. Damian Pierce, I just kind of threw him on here, like kind of just by default. But I think that there's a chance that he gets Michael Cartered this year, and then he will obviously just completely fall out of the top 24 altogether.
Yeah, I mean, he actually played really well before he went down with the injury. They put him on IR. I mean, he was first among all rookie running backs in rushing yards. He had over 800 rushing yards, so he was looking really good prior to that happening. But you're probably right. He's a fourth round pick. They have a lot of draft capital to use this year. It's definitely possible that they look to upgrade. And there's going to be a ton of free agent running backs too this year. I mean, we're going to talk about some more of them. I mean, like we already talked about Saquon and Tony Pollard. They're kind of the crown jewels. But you also have Josh Jacobs, who is a free agent. And, that's why I have him where I have him. I know people are going to look at that and scoff at that because of the season he just had. But I don't know where the hell he lands. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with him. And he is somebody prior to this year that he's never performed like this. Like, he has to go to a team that's going to commit to him like the Raiders just did, because that's something we'd never see from him. He's something that we'd always kind of talked about, like, man, they don't utilize him as a pass catcher very much. Why? And they finally did that this year. But if he goes to another team, I mean, he could be in a committee situation. Like, So for me, I just don't truly know what to do with him right now. So that's why I have him right there. I know people are going to look at that and have a problem with it, but other than that, Bijan, you already talked about it. But this guy, like, I know every year I feel like we're like, oh, this guy's a generational talent. But Bijan Robinson might very well be the best running back we've ever seen come out of a draft. He can do everything at an elite level. He is a great pass catcher out of the backfield. You can play him all over. He's not something that you're just going to do little dump offs to. I mean, he can actually run routes like a wide receiver. It's just incredible. His numbers he put up this year. He was basically top 10 in almost every metric you want to look at. He was 10th in yards after contact per attempt, first in missed tackles forced. And that was something we talked about with Javonte Williams. He crushed Javonte Williams' number. He also had 1,500 or over 1,500 rushing yards, 314 receiving yards, 20 touchdowns. He's a lock to go in the first round. He could easily creep up into the top 10. Like, I actually had him at RB9, the RB9 overall. Uh, and I was like, man, that might be right now without knowing anything of where he's going to go. That might be a little hot, but I guarantee you, if he lands in anywhere that's a good spot, he is going to be a top 12 pick off the board this year. Lock it in. He is that good. I want to hit on Dalvin Cook really quickly and Alvin Kamara. Both of these guys, I think, are really tough to rank. One, Dalvin Cook turns 28 this year, and yes, I am an ageist apparently, and Alvin Kamara also is just turned 28. But Alvin Kamara is going to be facing a suspension. I'm assuming that's why, Cody, I don't believe you have him ranked at all. But he is definitely probably going to get suspended. And honestly, this offense, this team in general, looks terrible. Dalvin Cook, getting a little bit older. He was not very efficient whatsoever. And so I just am a little bit lower on him. I think we're going to start to see some of these guys fall off. The Dalvin Cooks, the Alvin Kamara's who are getting 28, 29 years old that have seen a lot of touches. And so I'm just a little bit less convinced over the other running backs ahead of them. So that's why I have them there. But like I said, this year's going to be crazy for the running back position because you have a really good class of running backs that are going to be coming in, not just Bijan Robinson. There's probably 5 or 6 other guys behind him that you can all make a case for, depending on who you talk to. There's a lot of different options here in that group of running backs, which we will get to at a later date, that are going to be coming in. You have a ton of free agents. Like I said, Saquon, Pollard, Damian Harris, Miles Sanders is a free agent, Josh Jacobs is a free agent. So there's a lot of openings for places to go. There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to need running backs. There's going to be a lot of movement. So it's really hard to really rank some of these guys confidently without knowing exactly what's going to happen. And so I 100% agree with you on Breece Hall and Javonte Williams. And I am the biggest Javonte Williams stan you'll find. And I don't feel confident with taking him that high this year because we've just seen it time and time again. We saw it with Saquon. We saw it with J.K. Dobbins this year, the same thing. Him have all these struggles and really be able to put it all together. They're not going to be the same guy until year 2. So I would not invest heavy capital on either one of those guys. And then, the rest of these guys on this list, like Leonard Fournette, I don't know what to do with him because Tom Brady sounds like he's out the door. And if that's the case, they're going to be left with Blaine Gabbert. And no fucking thank you with that. So, I mean, obviously, they'll probably bring in somebody else, but who knows who that's going to be. So, with that being said, I think that kind of wraps up our running back conversation. We have a lot to talk about past this because there's other guys that you could have put on this list like Tyler Algier if the Falcons don't do anything at the running back position. He looks really good to close out the season. Like, there's a lot of other guys we could have hit on, could have talked about. These are going to change drastically. We'll probably update this again once we get to March, once free agency happens, we start to get a little bit more answers. But with that being said, I appreciate everybody checking out the video. I appreciate everybody rocking with us this year. We'll be back again here very soon with more content. Have a good night. Bye.